It's a very good welcome, and welcome to the Free Ride podcast. And of course, my name is Sipo Wahamasiyo. I'm back again on this dial, and of course, I've been missing for so many weeks, man. I'm back now, and of course, today is a special broadcast because I've got a wonderful gentleman in studio today. He's going to talk to me about his life, his journey, and of course, he's going to tell us about. He's one of those guys who were born in the 70s, and of course, his father was very popular. His father was an activist, a boxer. He was very well known. He's a man who changed the game back in the 80s. And of course, he'll tell us all about that. And of course, let me welcome him to the Free Ride podcast. Bra Arthur Mayisela. How are you doing, my brother?
My brother, I'm very good. Thanks, and yourself?
I'm good, my brother. Thank you so much. Of course, you and I spoke about the possibility of joining hands and talking about how you've got a very important mission ahead of you. And you wanted us to work together to use this platform, the Free Ride podcast. And of course, this is why you're here. You're not going to be the guest here. We're going to talk about burning issues that are causing our people struggles. We're going to be talking about issues that need to impact and change our young people's lives. So your mission is greater than yourself.
Yes, most definitely, my brother. I take it from me personally, from my father's side. But my struggle is the struggle of Black people in general in the townships, which is the very same struggle that my father was up against, but in his own way or context of life in the boxing ring as a champion in South Africa. Yes.
All right, so before we talk about your dad, let's talk about you first. Take us back to where Stephen was born, and what was life like growing up and your household?
I had parents that came both from Joburg, one from the East Rand, now known as the Ekurhuleni, and my dad coming from the West Rand, which is popularly known as Soweto. I was very lucky to have the best of both worlds because my dad had a family in Davidton, and whenever he would get into trouble on this side, go Midlands in Soweto, he would go to visit his aunt or go to Davidton, and that's where he met my mom. And yes, I was born here in Joburg, and privileged to be from both sides of the city of Bold. Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about where you go, where you went to school. So growing up, partly called the East Rand, growing up Kokasi, scale guy.
I started to go the East Rand, my lower primary school at the time. It was called lower primary, was Pumelele, and then went on to do high school called Dumekles, and then from then on, my dad and mom, who had separated ways, joined forces again, and then I came to the side Kokasi and went to a school in town, Observatory. I went to Observatory, and then first going was in Klope, and then went on to Observatory, and then I was then based this side from that time onwards. Yeah.
And then after high school, we go
St. Jude. I went to St. Jude High Primary School. That's the school called Observatory, which I think is a school that really changed my life to the better, and I'm very thankful of that exposure and that privilege to having gone to that school. Yeah.
Was it a former Model C school?
Yes.
Oh, it was a Model C school?
It was a Model C school.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's like in the early 90s.
In the 80s, I was in
the 80s, you were go Skela Samang?
1988, yeah, privileged.
Damn.
Privileged.
Okay.
1988, I started in 98 and yes, I finished, not finished my matric at that particular school, but till I finished matric, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And then from matric, did you further your studies?
Yes, I definitely did. Everybody who wasn't at the time qualified with a degree which went to Wits University, then went to the Wits Tech, the very famous Wits Tech in Kempton, in Auckland Park.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, Wits Tech was our generation. A lot of us went to Wits Tech. Yes, I also went there. Started got the Dawn Funding campus, very popular. Then moved on to the Auckland Park campus. Yes.
And then, do you still remember your first job? Like, obviously, you completed your studies. Did you go into a field that you studied for?
Not immediately because I went into sales. I got lucky to get a job from my dad's ex-promoter, Mike Siegel. He had shops around Joburg, in mostly the popular malls, Rosebank Center, Kilani Mall, all the malls. And he had various branches in those malls. And he took me in as a salesperson for his shops, and we were selling amazing clothes. Yeah.
Sure. All right. So before we go on about your career, we'll come back to that. Let's talk about your father. I mean, your father was a legend, or is a legend. Let's talk about him. Tell us a little bit more about him.
What an amazing guy. The people's champion, they call him. My dad grew up hard. He grew up in the 50s, 60s, tough. South Africa back then was tough as hell. And gangsterism, him growing up from Middlelands in Soweto, it was rough. It was bad for the young guys and girls back then. And Arthur was just like any other normal kid, growing up in the streets and bad times, really. And with the apartheid system, obviously, which was the regime our country was undergoing at the time, it was not a very friendly environment for our parents to grow up in. Got himself into a lot of trouble like any other young boy at the time. And he one time, as I heard and I was told, made a decision to say, you know what, I wanna become somebody. I wanna make a name for myself, and I want to build or create a better life for my family and my kids. And Arthur became the best boxer, one of the best boxers in the country. Story of football.
Sure. So growing up with a famous father, did it make it difficult for you, or did it make life easier for you because everybody knew already the child of the famous Arthur Mayisela?
Yeah, no, it definitely had its perks, obviously, you will get all the attention and the love, and people who would want to hear your story and your dad and how amazing he was. And it made life definitely easier. You would get away with a lot of stuff because of the name of your dad and who he was and what he did in his time and in his life. Yeah, it did serve me very well. I can't complain.
So you then, in carrying your father's legacy over, I mean, you didn't become a boxer, a professional boxer, but instead you started a foundation in honor of your dad, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, I did box.
Oh, you did?
Yes, I did box myself. I had a very colorful, that's the way it in boxing, colorful amateur career. I had about 46 fights because we would fight every weekend, everywhere. So, I did feel that love and the training and the hard work, which kind of like shaped me to the man that I am as well because of the discipline that it comes with. And yeah, I'm very thankful of that teaching and the coaches that I had that had to kind of like instill the discipline and build the type of man that I am. Yeah, the foundation, the Arthur Mayisela Foundation, comes from hard times, my brother. We come from tough times. We come from tough times. We come from making that right decision, which is what Arthur did in his life to change his life from just being an ordinary guy who could have just been a jailbird or made out in the streets, but to become someone great and to have a huge impact in his community and kind of like motivate a whole lot of other people from being just an ordinary human being. Sports for me is the reason why I'm sitting here with you today. Sports changed my life. My dad's decision to become a sportsman gave me all the opportunities to date that I have. And that foundation is based on that to give other kids an opportunity to become great sporting icons and their kids could become people of huge influence in terms of making the world a better place like I'm doing. And my dad not made that decision to become a boxer, my life and his could have turned out to be a disaster. But because of sports and because of boxing, I have the opportunity and the courage to take on the world today because I was exposed to the type of education that he fought for me to get in the ring to be able to give me the confidence to want to fix swimming pool the focus so that we can have a swimmer that goes to the Olympics and brings gold from coming from Okasi. Imagine that the young girls or boys, families' life, what it could do to his kids, his whole family, his whole community. Wimbledon, tennis, golf. The foundation is based on sports, arts, and cultural activities, programs, Kokasi that should afford kids to become whoever that they want to become in that faculty of life. So yeah, it's a big mission to make sure that we get a lot of Arthur Mayiselas that would give birth to the Stephen Mayiselas that could have the courage to take on the world and wants to change it to a better place.
Is it a lot of pressure being a child of a famous person? I'm just thinking back in our conversation before we had to sit down, you mentioned Brenda Fassi's son, Bomani, you mentioned Muhammad Ali's daughter. So I could think of so many others who your dad was famous. Now, I also thought about Max Maponyani and Max Maponyani. Your father is this. Is there an expectation from a father that the son becomes as famous or at least following the footsteps? Or does your father allow you to be the man you want to be and you choose to follow him in that sport as your choice, but not as pressure from him?
I became ordinary, my brother. I was an ordinary kid. Kokasi. I would sit with my guitar, and I would do the things that Kokasi, have a joint or two, drink beers. But the pressure just amongst the people that I'm sitting with have always been there. Even just amongst friends. What can you do to help me? People always expect something great of you. because of who your parent was.
Mm.
So we could be sitting intoxicated and just having that stress and people wanting me to do better. You won't run away from it.
Mm.
You can't run away from it if you are a parent. I mean, I'm talking at a personal level, just with the people that are surrounding you. They will always, and then you get those then that will come directly to say, you can't be this useless.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mabuaso.
Yeah, straight up.
What?
Yeah, no, you can't. Do you want us to remind you who your dad was?
Hey, Anna.
No, of course, straight up. Like, you can't be this useless. You can't be doing nothing with your life. With having such a huge brand and a name and a dad, you gotta get up and do something. All of us who come from, I'm sure every guy or girl that has a famous father, the pressure is always on. The pressure is always, the people will take you on, the people themselves, apart from you feeling whatever that you want to feel, whether I'm going to become a bum and do absolutely nothing with my life. That's your own decision, but the people will always take you on.
Makes sense. So let's go back to then, partly your career before you started the organization. So you moved from sales. Maybe quickly take us through how then your journey, moved around to get to where you are now.
I'm a banker.
Okay.
I'm a banker by profession. I went into, after completing my HR studies, which I was supposed to then continue with to get a degree and further on, so on and so on. My master's or PhD, that was the pathway, my educational pathway. I went into banking and I worked for a well-known bank, and I did well. I did very well at the bank as a student banker, having to work and study and learn each and every department of the bank. I would stay at the payroll for 3 months, credit cards, home loans, all the services that any bank could offer. I was just being trained to master all of them, so that once I'm done with my training, I could then become a proper, well-rounded HR practitioner at the bank, because as an HR practitioner, you would then have to deal with the industrial relation of the organization. But then, while I was working at the bank, obviously, my entrepreneurial desires were always there. I've always wanted more. I wanted to not just become an ordinary laborer or corporate guy, I've always been involved from even before school. As we were discussing earlier, my uncles were smokers. They were salesmen themselves, selling at the train. They would take me with them on weekends, and I started selling and making a little bit of money myself, for myself, and that kind of captured my passion in terms of business at a very young age, and went on to work. And while working, I had businesses running while still at the bank, and my passion for just business never died. Then one of the businesses that I had while working at the bank, I had met some clients of mine who came to the bank. They were involved in carpentry and woodwork, and we had an arrangement where I kind of designed shoe boxes that I was distributing in the location, which was Jamestown. At the time, there was a huge taxi rank there. Working there, I had about 20 to 30 shoe boxes going around, charging $2 per shine, and young boys manning those boxes. So then one day my whole life changed because I took Kabzela, DJ Kabzela, the very popular YFM DJ, who eventually became my best friend, inspiring a whole lot of us coming from a cast to say, you're fit to get up, stand up, do something. I did something. I was a taxi driver. I'm the most popular guy in town now. So he inspired a whole lot of us. I took my box to one of his shows, and that's for an interview. And then from then on, me and him got on like gin and juice, house and fire, became best buddies. But while at Y and being friends with Kabzela, the management, one of the white guys, Dick Hartford, the CEO of Y, kind of like once I had interactions with him and discussions, was very much chuffed with my sales and just business rhetoric and utterances, and he took me out of the bank and gave me a job at Y, and I became an AE, which is an account executive doing sales and marketing for YFM. That's when my whole life changed. Yeah.
For the good or for the worse? Because YFM was huge back in the day. I mean, all those celebs, all those DJs, dealing the Kabzela and the fame and all the attention. Was it a good period of your life, or was it stressful?
Oh, my mom hated it.
Okay.
Yeah, my mom, to date, she hates it. That, oh my God.
Nona Honey.
That stupid radio station ruined my child's life. Because, oh my God, as you can imagine, it was just about the nightlife, the parties, just sleepless nights from a banker to now working at one of the biggest radio stations in Joburg at the time. From suits and ties to just nightlives and partying and parties and celebrities and hanging out with everybody and everybody, So for me, it turned out to be good because, as I was mentioning earlier, it took me away from just what I was destined to be, which was a corporate guy working at the bank, kind of like boring.
Yeah.
Compared, relatively speaking, to what I was now experiencing. For me, YFM brought me closer to my people.
Okay.
Yeah, my people.
Whereas the banking sector is more white, it's corporate, it took you away from.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the banking sector was just going to be me, myself, and I, my career, my family, and just an ordinary corporate guy. But YFM was YFM, and it was youth, it was a movement, it was consciousness, it was Australia, it was the people. I mean, we had just, got into our democracy in 1997, just after 3 years after we just voted in 1994. So it was a big time for young people, young black people. It was a big time for us, and I was part of it. I could have been at the bank, Yeah, so that for me is the reason why I'm here, and I'm pushing the mission still of young people, black people, throughout the world to then find their place in the world, rightfully so.
We've got about 5 minutes to go on our conversation. Let's talk about exactly that. Your mission. What exactly is it that you want to do? You've got the foundation. It is centered around sports development. It's about giving young people opportunities. How exactly do you want to go about it? And what are the bottlenecks that are stopping you? What are the challenges of running an NGO? What are the bottlenecks of actually trying to reach that mission of yours?
Well, like any other journey, of course, it was not meant to be easy for us, but we black people are suffering the world over still. My brother. It's our generational mission. Hence, I approached people like you to say, my brother, let's partner towards accomplishing our generational goal for people of our generation to then look at what it is that we can do to reach out to black people worldwide, because this is a global platform, of course, worldwide. How do we collaborate? How do we work together in the sports, arts, and culture and township? Because we all townships, how do we get our businesses viable? How do we empower ourselves? How do we make sure that those that have certain talents get to realize them and make them work for themselves? It was tough for Arthur at the time and his peers in the 80s. It's a bit better now for us, but the bottlenecks are still there, challenges are still there. Our government and our private sector and our entire continent has to come to the party, but it's us that have to make sure that they come to the party. They won't just come. They need to know that we are smart and capable enough to make sure that we are taking on whatever challenges that we face currently and in our present day and time, to make sure that we do the best that we can to liberate and free our globe, not just black people. I mean, the entire globe is suffering. What is our contribution to the world as people of our caliber? Yeah.
All right, man. So I think today's conversation is to set the tone, to give historical context to your life, to our partnership, why we decided that we want to work together. Because me too, I think, to a very large extent, I've always been passionate about developing young people, black people in particular. And so I think we met knowing very well that we have a similar mission, but we are walking in different paths. So now that we are here, we obviously want to have more of these conversations. And I think Rebato use this platform to inform and educate and empower people. And we want to have more conversations. For instance, one of the things you spoke about before we prepared was the township economy, meaning the black economy.
Yes.
How can we as black people liberate ourselves and literally say we want to have economic freedom in our lifetime? Meaning, ha ke kgola nyoko e itseng, nyoko ya ka e tla circulate ko kasi 7 times before e tswa ko kasi.
Yes.
And it circulates among black people, meaning we can trade amongst each other. And then the other challenge is that the economy ya ko kasi
Big problem.
And maybe that's what, maybe the next conversation is to unpack that economy ya kokasi. Okay, economy ya di taxi onwa ke botaki.
Yeah.
Sha. Economy ya di spaza ya di shopo ha sa onwa ke botaki.
Yeah.
Economy ya di hairdresser.
Yeah.
Basadi ba etsa meriri, ba etsa manala, the beauty industry. Huge. Ke bo mang ba ba dominator.
Yeah.
Apart from South African blacks.
Yeah.
Maybe we look at the mall The shop was really good in Molo. Your big chain stores, telling worry, what I give, we spend money there, the money goes out.
Yeah.
Just to discuss the economy of Kokas.
Yeah, my brother, you can't want to solve issues the economy not being a business person yourself.
Okay.
So this for me and you is a business.
Mm.
Already we are in business here, you know. We are going to discuss the township economy, being entrepreneurs and business people ourselves, collaborating and working with the economy, which comes with a lot of other business people. So we are not going to sit here as just mouthpieces or politicians. Already we are starting a business to then go to build the township economy. So most definitely I'm looking forward to our progressive discussions, and we need to really now start becoming the solution to our problems ourselves.
Absolutely. My brother, as we wrap it up, so basically how I see this thing unfold is that we will go to some people that we want to speak to. We'll interview them there. We don't always have to be interviewing or talking to each other like this. Mona fela.
Yeah.
But as and when, maybe maybe a tombstone place, maybe funeral parlor, business or whatever the kids might be.
Amazing.
Yeah. So I think I look forward to many of those conversations, so that it's kabore ke podcast e leng gore I bontshe lesedi, or I bontshe progression, or I bontshe, because Botaki, it's like, I feel like Botaki, we've regressed a lot.
Huge, yeah, a lot.
We've moved backwards, even though we think we've moved forwards.
Always backpedaling.
We've moved backwards.
Yeah.
Even those, they think, okay, I'm educated, I'm staying in the suburbs, I've got this, I've got that. If you look at them and you look at the gap between those who can and those who don't, the gap is too wide.
Huge.
And so you can't be sitting there saying, I'm successful and that's fine.
Yeah, there's a lot of inequalities amongst ourselves, just as black people. But there's a lot of great stories, as you are mentioning, us going out there. There are amazing entrepreneurs, Kokasi, that are gonna teach us a lot, that we're gonna learn a lot from them, how they started, that are going to inspire other kids growing up or other aspiring entrepreneurs out there. Oh, this thing is doable, I'm sitting here thinking, oh, I can't do this yet. I've got the desire and the capability to do it. We want people to start doing it. We want to be the solution. We are tired of stories. We want to use this platform for solutions, and our people are more than capable to become their own solution.
And also, maybe the last point I want to make is that, if I listen to your story and I listen to your dad's story, I listen to other people that I know that have progressed on their own, is that sometimes, and I've seen how currently, especially now in this political climate, is that everybody is blaming the government for all their problems. Yes, okay, the government must do what it must do, but ultimately, you are given life. Like your dad had to do, even though there was gangsterism and crime, he made a decision already. Hey, I got to get driving.
Yeah.
Get boxing.
Yeah.
And you also said you had to choose what is it that you do? You could have been in prison, you could have chosen a life here, also gangsterism. I'm also the same. I mean, I don't know how many times I could have died.
Yeah.
And here I am. So literally, we have choices as people.
Yeah.
What are the choices we make every day? to help us push us forward as people. So maybe these are some of the conversations that I'd like us to have.
Yeah.
But you and I will always talk about what we need to talk about so that we can inform our viewers and our listenership. And so, yeah, what do you make of that?
We gotta become the dynamic duo, my brother. We gotta be the people that our people believe in, because we've lost a lot of people to believe in. And as you say, rightfully so, it's about personal decisions. Me and you could have been sitting somewhere, but this is a decision that we both make to encourage our people, you know, and that's what we want to teach people, that it's all about the decision that you make as an individual. Forget about help coming from anywhere, but let's make decisions ourselves that will change our lives and communities and the world at large. Us, it's about us. We need to be the change that we are waiting for.
Absolutely. And I think also maybe just one last point is even the ideas around business ideas, we must be able to share them so that, you know, everyone who's viewing can be able to say, and like, I could do a business about.
Yeah.
Maybe it's about.
Yeah.
There's another youngsters caucus about dustbin.
Yeah.
The business.
It's massive. It's huge. I've got some in my neighborhood. Those boys are making close to about, collectively throughout all the houses, paying them $100 a month, close to $4K a month. If you use that money wisely, that's a proper business. So it's those teachings to those boys to say, don't take that money and misuse it, but you could build an empire from this money. So who are the role models for those young kids? We should be setting an example for all the... If our business, between me and you, doesn't reach 1 million aspiring black people, our business, that's what we're doing, because there's more than 50 million of us out there that want a better life. So if we can reach 1 million quickly to say, these are the guys I want to listen to. These are what the guys I want to talk to as a guy that washes dustbins in any neighborhood. We should put that boy on and hear him out, make him consider his business a business. Because that boy washes dustbins, in his mind, he's a nobody. That boy is playing a big role in terms of building his own life, and one day could be one of the biggest role players in the economy that we are all aspiring to. So nobody is nobody. We all need to really encourage our people to take themselves seriously in every little corner where they find themselves.
Absolutely. My brother, I think let's close it there for now, because I think we've set the scene.
Thank you.
We've set the tone. We've introduced you to the Free Ride podcast viewers. And let's get this ball rolling. I mean, I know that the show was growing nicely until I got distracted. But I'm glad that you are here. Let's do what we can, and let's reach out to as many people as possible. So thank you very much for joining me on our first episode together, my brother. And let's hope to do a lot more to help our people.
Thank you. We're business partners.
Oh,
Thank you a lot.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Sure. All right.